Remember back to when you were growing up. You did something you were not supposed to and you were caught. What did your parents do? I recall being bent over my father's knee and spanked hard. When it comes to raising your children, you don't want them to be afraid of you. You have to discipline your children. When you have to discipline your children, there's a fine line that can be crossed. Finding the right way to discipline your child is key to them not fearing you or even acting out for any kind of attention. As a caregiver to young children for 15 years, as well as being a mother, I have firsthand experience observing the ways not to discipline your children, as well as some ways that work well. Discipline is something many parents have a hard time controlling, but what and where is going too far, and how can we as parents discipline our children in a biblical and safe way? I will help you as parents see that there is a proper way to discipline your child or children by looking into the effects of discipline on children, discussing stories shared with me by friends on how they discipline their child, as well as suggestions on disciplining better. Now let's take a look and see how a child can be affected by parent discipline. The way parenting styles and parents within those styles handle discipline have a very direct result on the child. Chip Ingram wrote in Effective Child Discipline about the 4 parenting styles. The permissive parent, he states, the study revealed that permissive parents tend to produce children with very low self-esteem and feelings of inferiority. The kids feel loved, but they are never sure of their limits. Their parents are generally fearful, afraid of messing up and damaging their child's psyche, so they never set firm boundaries. The kids feel loved and very unsure of themselves. He then talks about the neglectful parent. He states this kind of parent doesn't express much love and also doesn't really care enough to discipline. Their children tend to grow up with little or no lasting relationships with mom or dad. They're estranged because they feel forsaken. The parents' neglect may not necessarily be intentional. They may be simply in the midst of their own traumas and chaos, like an addiction or an abusive situation. These children grow up with unbelievable, deep emotional scars. Ingram then talks about the authoritarian parent, and he states this kind of parent doesn't express love and affection well, but is very high on discipline. They raise children who are provoked to rebellion. The bar is always high, and the musts are always abundant, so there's a strong sense of safety. Then he goes on to talk about the authoritative parent, and he states this kind of parent is authoritative, not an overbearing authoritarian, but a compassionate yet firm authority. They have clear boundaries, but are also very loving. The result is a child high in self-esteem and equipped with good coping skills. Now let's take a look at some specific examples of discipline. The following 2 examples I'm about to discuss are examples I have heard firsthand and about what works for another parent, as well as an example I've seen in a local supermarket. Ingram states there's not a responsible parent on the planet who hasn't struggled with getting a child to obey, and it can be an excruciating experience. How do you get your children to mind without losing yours? That's a challenge, and God's Word has much to say about how we as parents can meet that challenge. It shows us how to provide that kind of discipline that helps our children fulfill their responsibility. If the most important thing for our children is to learn is to obey, what do we do when they won't? In a conversation about discipline with my friend, she had mentioned what worked for her and her husband when disciplining their daughter was a smack on the bottom with a wooden spoon. It was not a hard smack, just a kind of swat, and it was always with the same wooden spoon. That spoon was always used for disciplining their daughter, and never for cooking or anything else, so when it came out, she knew it was coming. While shopping at a local supermarket, I had run into a woman that had her child in the car as she was shopping. The child wanted